Welcome back to episode 9 of the Dadger. We're sitting down with former Wisconsin Badger defensive end David Pfaff, a man who's done it all from taking the field at Camp Randall to suiting up for the Green Bay Blizzard and now pouring his passion into coaching at Sun Prairie. David's story is all about grit, growth, and giving back. We talk balancing football, family, running trench training, working at the Wisconsin Business School, and even running his own embroidery business. I think I got it all there, but you are a man of many talents. Thanks for being on, David.
Of course, yeah. Super excited to have me, Adam. Always jump at a opportunity to kind of share my story and talk about, just talk about the weird life I've lived because I've done so many different things, and I'm a what's the quote? It's you're a jack of all trades,
That's right.
master of none,
That's
and that's how I
right.
feel. Just growth mindset, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so let's start. You're from Mequon. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing?
Yeah. So I was just in Mequon actually this past weekend for my sister Lexi's graduation. But yeah, born and raised Mequon, Wisconsin, 10 minutes north of Milwaukee. Um, and they call it the Malibu of the Midwest. I think that's a little bit north, but I call it now that affectionately. But yeah, so, you know, was raised there. Also spent time in Fond du Lac with my dad. And in 2015, well, actually, I'll stop. Um, Played football for Homestead High School, powerhouse in
Yep.
Wisconsin, or at least used to be, um, and was afforded a really good opportunity to get a scholarship from the Badgers. Um, and in 2015, I went to Madison to earn a degree in community and nonprofit leadership and play football. And even before that, going back to high school, you know, had a lot of success team wise. Went to the 2012 state championship in Camp Randall. Was in Camp Randall in like 2007 when I was in, sixth or seventh grade. So it was kind of a natural progression, right? It was a every Wisconsin boy's dream to go from an in-state school to the
Yep.
flagship, being Madison. So I was very, very lucky. Worked very hard, and kind of getting into my story now. Post football, still in Madison, working for the university for the Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association as a fundraiser or major gift officer for the Wisconsin School Business. Like you said in the intro, I also coach. It's my fourth year, Sun Prairie football, and I am an unpaid intern at my girlfriend's embroidery shop.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's the cliff notes of my story.
So, you have one sister. You have multiple siblings, and are you the oldest?
One sibling
Okay.
going to Marquette next year. She's super excited for that, studying business. Way smarter than I ever was. So I was the athletic one, she was the smart one.
I mean,
And yeah,
it's not really a competition because they don't have a football team, but for basketball guys, that would probably be tough for a younger sibling to go to Marquette, huh?
yeah, I've had to get used to it. At first, I pushed back pretty hard, but I'm super excited. She's going to be a Golden Eagle. I think that's what they are.
Yep.
And yeah, basketball will be fun. Good academics in Milwaukee, so she's close. I can visit, and she can visit mom. And it seems to be just a really good path she's going down. So, you know, yeah.
So in Believe in Badges, you've been on there a couple times. You've actually hosted it a couple times, and I'll kind of dive into those questions a little bit later. But
Hmm.
I think it was the first one you did 2 years ago. You said your mom kind of put the idea of playing football out there when you were younger.
Yeah.
Was she your biggest fan and support system when you went to when you started playing, and then when you went to UW, and then continued playing up in Green Bay here?
Yep. Yep. So 100% my biggest supporter. second to none. And I remember it very vividly. We were paging through the rec sports book, and I was in fifth grade. That's when we start. I was in fourth grade at that point, but we're getting into fifth grade. And she said, "David, I think you'd be good at football." And at that point, I really had not found my athletic talents, and really, I'm a one-trick pony. I mean, football is kind of my main thing. I'm also kind of good at volleyball. And so at that point, I was like, sure, whatever. I'll just make you happy. I'll do it, even though I didn't know anything about it, And so I remember even my first game, right? Like, did we win? Like, I just did not know anything about it, right? Was always kind of a Packers fan, and family was athletic, but just really didn't know at that point. And yeah, she's still my biggest supporter. She still wants me to play football being 28 years old. But, I tell her all the time, Mom,
Hey,
you
that
gotta,
Madison area, there's a ton of semi-pro teams you can find around there.
there is. Yeah. I can confidently say, though, my days are now spent coaching. And that's, even though I would love to suit up, I mean, that's kind of like the old timers always say, right? What I wouldn't give to suit up and be in your position. But as a young buck, you don't know. You don't know when you're going to be done, and it's hard to live in the future or the present sometimes, so
In your bio on the Wisconsin UW site, uh, one of the interesting little fun facts, it mentions you're Eagle Scout, and I know Bernie brought this up in the first podcast you did
yeah.
with him too. But uh, it's interesting. Like, how did you think that helped you become a leader in sports? Because you were a 4-year captain in high school, I
Yep.
believe. Um, so obviously you have that leadership quality, and I assume that um, you know, being a scout helped you with that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. No one really asks me about that. But it's been coming up this past week or so. I was meeting with a donor, and we brought up about our time in scouts. He was way older than me, but kind of that the skills that you learn as a Boy Scout, and then if you make it all the way to Eagle, is huge. Being a 15, well, at that time, 17-year-old kid leading a whole Eagle Scout project to make a low ropes course in the back of my high school. I was kind of thinking back, like, wow, that was actually pretty intense, and I was not very mature back then. So yeah, it's you get an appreciation for the outdoors and for these really small skills that really aren't that small. I mean, I know how to cook and build a fire and just really fun things that make you a dynamic person. They say a scout is, oh boy, scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and irreverent. And so you're trying to build these holistic young men in the best way you can. And a lot of it is through exploration of skills and talents and activities. I went to scout camp from kindergarten all the way to senior year, and at the end, my senior year, we had it overlapped with those days of contact days, I think in June or July. And I was like, I got to do this. I've done it for so long, it just makes sense to do it. And so yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it was a blast to do it, and it really taught me to lead folks, but lead yourself first, right?
Yeah.
Be accountable to yourself first. So
Safe to say when the time comes and you have kids, they'll be entered in there, huh?
yeah, Boy Scouts, 4-H. My girlfriend, she's very outdoorsy, so yeah, it makes sense to get them involved in those things. Be involved as much as you can, because you just don't know what your thing is going to be until you find it.
You talked. You said that football was your kind of your claim to fame, but you lettered in track, wrestling, and swimming as well. That's a
Hmm.
wide range of sports. is
Yeah.
so so? Is there one in particular that you thought? um, the skills you learned from it really helped in football as well, like transitioned really well
Hmm.
into helping you in football?
Hmm. Um, Even though it was only 1 year of it, wrestling. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my entire life. I also think track is up there just from running mechanics, but yeah, wrestling, learning how to use people's momentum against them. That was, we see a lot of these successful football players, like Coach Fickle, even being one of them, right? He was a legend out on the mat. Keanu Benton comes to
Yep.
mind, legend, and a lot of it comes from wrestling. Just playing other sports, being multidisciplinary. Um, yeah, and so I was not very good. And you said I was a 4 year starter at Homestead. I don't think I was a four or a not a 4 year starter, a 4 year team captain. I don't even believe I was that. But you learn a lot, and the hardest thing I've ever had to do in life is in wrestling or in boxing is dominate another person and basically break their will.
Yeah.
And that translates to football really well. You can make the game a lot smaller by just beating the man in front of you on
Yep.
every single play, or trying to at least.
Um, so when you did become captain, was that tough for you, or I mean, I guess we kind of talked about it, or were you just it just felt natural for you to kind of be in
In
that
high school,
leadership role? Yeah. Yes.
okay, so I'm gonna kind of take a different approach on this one. So I would say team captains for high school sports, a lot of the times it is a this kid's really good. He's playing a lot. He seems to be a decent leader, but sometimes it's just a popularity contest. And again, not to take away from, if you earn a captain spot, that is amazing, right? And hopefully you earned it on your merits and just how you conduct yourself. I would say when I got that spot, it wasn't necessarily for my vocal leadership skills. It was just because I played a lot. I had been on varsity for 3 or 4 years, playing some really decent time, and so I kind of just fell into the responsibility. But um, that is kind of, as a coach now, I really want to make sure that if we give someone a captain spot, it's because they truly earn it. They don't just fall into it, you know.
When you first started playing, did you were you a lineman right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Pee Wee football, Cardinal football in Mequon, Wisconsin. I was an offensive lineman, and my stepdad at the time kept harping on me. He said, "Man, you want to be defense?" And I go, "Mark, you don't. No, come on, offensive line. That's where it's at." Thank God, my coach, Coach Pop, he wanted me on defense as well, and then I kind of figured out, okay, you can use your hands and actually, throw people to the ground, instead of O line, where you do a lot of that and you get called for holding. So when they moved me to D line in Pee Wee, that was huge.
So coming out of high school, you're a three-star recruit. What was the I mean, we'll get into it a little bit, but what was the process like for you choosing schools? Because you had some big schools looking at you. You had like Iowa State, Syracuse, Wake Forest. Like those aren't slouch schools. I mean, even like South Dakota State, I think, was looking at you. Um, so walk me through that process, and
Yeah.
I know you talked about it on Believe in Badgers. That I think your mom was a helped you quite a bit with that process as well.
Yeah. So something I didn't share with them, maybe I did, but um, I kind of figured out end of freshman year, okay, I'm pretty good at this football thing. Really wanted to kind of saw the writing on the wall of if I did not pick the path of football where my life would end up, and didn't really like that. And so it was kind of a way for me to get out of my environment and make something of myself. So the end of freshman year, I took it extremely seriously. My mom took it seriously, and she said, "Hey, David, if you get a scholarship from any school, it doesn't matter where, we're going to try and visit that school because offering you a whatever a scholarship is worth, $250,000, let's say, that's a lot. That's a huge investment, and we're going to give them the respect they deserve." Now, I committed relatively early in the process. I think the end of my junior year. I remember Gary Anderson gave me literally less than 24 hours to decide. Shame on him, but I can say that now because he's not the Badgers coach.
Right.
But I get it. It's a business, and so he wanted to make sure I committed. And but getting back to your question, yeah, I mean, I marketed the hell out of myself. I remember Facebook messaging the Alabama defensive line coach until he like blocked me basically, just because I was so energetic and so eager to play at the highest level. And so yeah, I did a lot of work in terms of marketing myself to the right people and telling my story, which is kind of funny because that's exactly what I do now for my career. Right, I'm a storyteller. I
Right.
try and I'm in sales basically. So yeah,
What was the transition like for you once you got to college? Like in terms from high school to college, we're talking like social settings, school and football. I mean, I when I had Justin Ostrowski on, he kind of laid out the routine that athletes have, and it's just a packed day from like start to finish, pretty much.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
what was that transition like for you? Was it difficult, or you know what was something that helped you too through that transition?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. So it was, to answer your question, it was difficult the first day I stepped on campus to the last day I stepped off campus. You are extremely jam packed with activities and everything is very structured. And so a lot of guys, and I found this to be the case for me, right? You will try and, hold on to your independence and I'm going to do this activity that, and a lot of the times it's like playing video games for guys, right? Like, maybe not studying the playbook or, doing all your schoolwork or something, or staying up late because you want to hold on to that independence. So that was pretty rough, to be honest with you, in terms of just like, this is big boy football. And, I don't even think I grasped the concept of where I was when I stepped on kind of the Badger squad. I knew it was big time, but I didn't necessarily know how much work you had to put in to do that. Because I had worked, my idea was like, I worked so freaking hard to get here and I was out of my environment, and then I got there. And the big thing for me was I just wasn't going to quit, right? It crossed my mind so many times, but I was not going to quit. And you asked me what was one thing that helped me. Dan Ott. Dan Ott was my academic advisor at the time. He retired right before I got out, and it was early on in my career. He said, "David, we're having one of those real conversations." He said, "David, you are a grinder," and I was kind of like, I guess I am a grinder. I was kind of like, what? And then I thought about it for a second. I was like, yeah, there's so many things in life that I haven't given up on, even if I end up failing. Even if I
Yeah.
don't, figure it out, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try my best. And so I would say, just the thing that helped me the most was latching on to people that motivated me and believed in me. And we see that time and time again. I see it in my life now. I gravitate towards people who believe in me. That's just a natural human thing.
Yep.
Trying to think if there was anything else that helped me besides the people. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't help myself. I can tell you that much. I mean, I was a young cat and just had my priorities all backwards. But I tried to always, be the best teammate I could, and at the end of my career, tried to put myself in the best position I could. In terms of just being prepared. Which goes back to Boy Scouts, right? Being
Yeah.
prepared. I
Yep.
mean, so.
I don't think anyone would think less of you. Madison's a fun city, so. But you talked
Yeah,
about,
I wasn't even a partier really. You don't have time, you don't have
yeah,
time. You have Saturday after the game, and that's it. And then off season, it's pretty much Friday and
right.
Saturday, and I mean, one of those days you're playing video games, you're just having a chill night, and you just don't want to. I mean, and it's incredible for the guys who can do that. I'm thinking of just like some more of the tight end for the Patriots, who is the
Gronk.
Gronk, like play hard, work hard. He's
Yeah,
like the prime example of that. But even he would say, right, you have to have your priorities in order.
right.
You can't be messing around, and you're going to make your life a living hell, basically, if you start screwing up. So,
You mentioned you were recruited by Gary Anderson, but that was his last year of coaching. So did it
yeah.
take you a while for you to find footing when he left with the coaching changes, or was it a pretty seamless transition?
Yeah, seamless kind of, but what ended up happening was I was going to Wisconsin Badger Camp, my end of my freshman year, sophomore year. Coach Bielema started to recognize me. Well, I don't even think my name elevated to his level. I think it was more of like Coach Partridge at that time.
Sure.
He was the defensive line coach. He might have known my name, but that's pretty much it, right? The kid was too. Speaking of myself, right? I was too young to give a scholarship to at that time. And then once I was eligible, right, then Brett had left. Brett Bielema had left, and I kept showing up to the Badger camp, and then started getting offers. First one, Michigan or Western Michigan,
Yep.
and PJ Fleck. Gotta love him. The guy's charisma is crazy. And then I believe Coach Chris gave me an offer when he was at Pitt, if I can remember correctly. And then shortly after that, Anderson gave me the offer. And then, we were set for a couple of months, right? And then Anderson leaves. And then Coach Chris kind of reaffirmed his commitment to me. Um, and, then we kind of went on our merry way. So,
Was there somebody that was looking at you that had just such a good pitch that it tempted you, like a little bit to go somewhere else?
like I said, I think I committed too early in the process. I would have, Western Michigan really wanted me hard. They really, and I think I could have fit in maybe better to a smaller school and then kind of worked my way up. Like an NIU. I really enjoyed NIU. I really enjoyed North Dakota State just from all the winning that they've
Yep.
had at that point and even now. Um, but yeah, I was just so enamored by the idea of being a Wisconsin Badger. You know, us Homestead High School playing there in 2006, 7, and 8 for the state championship
Yep.
against Arrowhead. Me playing there in 2012 against Wanakee and snapping their winning streak. It was there was so much love there, and so I just really wanted to go there. And it paid dividends a little bit because it paid dividends a lot, but it was nice to actually have my family close. I'm only
Yeah.
92 miles away from Mequon. So when I did when I did get to college, it was kind of nice having that family component still close. But yeah, I would say probably the biggest one would be Coach Polasek at NIU, who's now North Dakota State's head coach, I'm pretty sure. I would have fit in really well with him, I think. And then Western Michigan, they were recruiting me heavily. So
You talked a little bit about the amount that you played in Camp Randall between state and then obviously playing college there. When you go back as a spectator, do all those memories kind of just hit you when you get back in there?
yes and no. first time I was back, I went to I'm pretty sure it was the student section. I
Oh
told
boy.
Zoe, yeah, I told my girlfriend, I said, I want to see football, Badger football, from all different perspectives. And so I've pretty much sat everywhere in the stadium, south end zone, the boxes, home side, away side, student section. I haven't gone up to the chancellor's box yet, but with my job, I might be able to be afforded that opportunity. But yes and no, right? I think it's really when I bring people back, they do a great job at engaging with their Badger alumni. And so it's more fulfilling for me to show people that have been Badger fans for 30 plus years, right? And kind of pulling back the curtain a bit and showing them, the locker room and the weight room and just all it's a bizarre lifestyle. You're
Yeah.
kind of like you're kind of a rock star a little bit, right? A little bit. You're kind of living this really bizarre life. And so that's when I see people's reaction, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, and I didn't take it for granted necessarily. I knew it was wild, but it's just until you're out of it, you don't understand the gravitas,
Yeah.
So, but
So you missed the NIL boat by a couple years. Do you think it would have changed your process and who you selected to go to had it been around? I guess had it been around when you were um, fielding offers, so to speak.
yeah, well, I mean, I can't imagine it wouldn't have weighed in on my opinion on where to go, right? I would love to be a fly on the wall with coaches now
Yeah.
and in the recruiting process because each place is a little different, and I'm still fuzzy on the rules, and I've been reading it the last couple days because the decision just came out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I would have really loved the opportunity to represent brands, smaller brands or whatever, just have different opportunities to kind of spotlight me and a product or whatnot. Um, I think it would have been cool, and I would have been a ham in front of the camera, and they would have liked it. And um, but I can't even surmise what that would have been like,
Yeah.
because I just never got the chance to do that. So a little bit of a tragedy for a lot of the people in my boat, but I mean, we're talking a lot of money here, so
Right.
let's it's first world problems.
Other than going against your own offensive lineman in practice,
Mm.
what team in the Big Ten do you feel like they always had the toughest linemen to go against?
Iowa,
Yeah,
single-handedly
it's
Iowa.
it's
Just
they're
a
very similar.
Yeah, scheme wise, they're really challenging. They stretch it out wide. Ohio State also comes to mind, but not because they're big, but they're just so freaky athletic.
Yeah.
It was very strange. It's like their lower half is a track star and their upper half is a power lifter. So very strange, but Iowa, yeah, they tried to beat me up.
Yeah.
Michigan was also really good. I would say those three were you circle the calendar, you make sure your body's ready to go, and you just look to your brother on the other side and you say, see you on the other side, buddy, because you don't know how your body's going to feel after it. So
You have so you have a Big Ten titles, you have state titles, Defensive Player of the Year awards. You have a sweet picture of you holding up Paul Bunyan's axe.
yeah,
The list goes on and on. So, do you have a favorite title, trophy, or award that you have won over your successful tenure playing football?
show you real quick.
Oh, here we go.
All right. So as you can see in the background, oh, maybe you can't see it, but I do have kind of a Zoe and I have our trophy case,
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. I just and it's not an ego thing. It's just like I like to look at it because it's just cool stuff. It's memories. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yep,
It's more of just sentimental value, right? Because I tell people all the time, right? I was never the best football player, especially on the Badgers, right? But I was so lucky to be in a cohort, right, from 2015 to 2019. We won a lot of games, and
Yeah.
we were with some special people.
Mm-hmm.
T.J. Watt, Jonathan Taylor. Those two are only two of a whole host of guys that I could talk about. So I'm just very privileged that I got to play with them. But my mom loves getting little like things made
That's
and stuff like
awesome.
this. So I got a replica, and it's so incredibly detailed.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say it looks like a legit figurine, like
yeah,
exact.
on the back you could see there's a sticker of the Rose Bowl because I wanted to. It has this logo on it.
Nice.
It also has the state of Wisconsin cut out. It's just even like a warning symbol. You know how they have that on
Yeah.
helmets. So just a very. This comes off. I think I broke a finger off this, but I can't remember the gentleman who does these. Maybe there's something on it. Big Sky Customs.
Okay.
Shout out to those guys. Big Sky
Yeah, that's
Customs,
awesome.
and they do just a phenomenal job. I mean, not to be weird, but even the armpit hair, he might have taken a little pencil on here and done that. So that's cool. Oh, also I have one other thing. It's actually right there. I'll show you that in a second. But then, I got this box. My mom got me this box, senior year, well, not senior year, sophomore year of high school when I won my state championship ring for Homestead. But I would say this ring means a lot to me, which was 2012 with Homestead. They all mean a lot to me, but my all time favorites are 2017 when I actually started playing. That was the Orange Bowl, 2017 undefeated regular season. Here's the Cotton Bowl. That was pretty cool down in Dallas. And then my senior year, the biggest of the bunch. This was for Rose Bowl that we lost, but it was really for the Big Ten West
Yeah.
champions. And obviously, I had a blast my senior year. And then this one was for the Pinstripe Bowl. And then
I
this was just a ring we got for being a letter
I
winner.
got
So,
the towel from the Pinstripe Bowl and I got a towel from the Orange Bowl. I was at both those
yeah,
games.
that was awesome. I mean, couple of things like we played Holiday Bowl my first year, and that was great. I wish we would have won something other than a watch, just to kind of make that more of a memory. But that was cool playing in, and that's not a not a it's a Big Ten bowl, right? Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's not like the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Rose
Right.
Bowl, right? But still a phenomenal bowl. And then Pinstripe Bowl, another not necessarily that upper echelon, or I should say top tier bowl, but still a great bowl. You're playing in New
Yankee
York during
Stadium. Yep.
Christmas. That's
Yep.
sweet. In Yankee Stadium. I mean, my God, like that is where dreams are made of. But besides those two things, so one thing you got to know about me,
The title belt.
I love WWE, and I really love the Attitude Era. And I don't watch it as much, but I still have the lifelong goal to go to WrestleMania. And so, story about this bad boy, which is I don't know if you can hear that, but
Yeah.
it's plated
Solid.
metal.
Yeah.
I started a tradition freshman year that it was going to be self-serving senior year, but I said, hey guys, we should start a defensive line tradition where we get the graduating senior or seniors a gift of their choosing, or something that we think that they would really admire. As kind of a last gift. And so the first year we only had one guy, and Jake Keefe. And I can't remember what we got him. I think it might have just been a box, a ring box like that. But down the line came my time. Me and Gunnar Roberge, I think we were the only two seniors. And I said, guys, I don't care how you get it to me. I want a big gold belt. That's what I want. They're kind of expensive, but I will cherish this thing. And so they bought me this, and I lost my freaking mind. So this means a lot to me, just because it came from the guys. it just represents kind of these worlds colliding, right? Football, senior gift, and WWE wrestling. I just thought it was a really cool something something. So
Yeah. So once you graduated, you went to arena football, like I kind of alluded to,
yep,
up here, Green Bay Blizzard. Did you feel did you make that move because you felt like you weren't done playing yet? And
exactly.
was your thought process, maybe I'll make some noise in this league and see if you don't get noticed and keep progressing your football career?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So when I got out, I graduated December of 2019. We played in the Rose Bowl January 1st, 2020, and that kind of that loss really kind of foreshadowed the rest of 2020 for everyone, because COVID happened.
Yep.
And so what ended up happening was, I got done playing college and I was burnt out, but I still felt like it would just be disingenuous not to try and keep it going for a little bit. And so the Badgers were nice enough to train me up for a pro day, because I was never going to go. I was never going to be invited to the
Official
national
combine.
combine,
Yeah.
but NFL combine. But I trained up, and I like to think that I would have had a tryout with the Packers and the Steelers, and I'm pretty confident I would have. Because I did fine in pro day. I didn't do anything special, but I didn't shit the bed, and so and the Packers and the Steelers did talk to me after, but that's kind of besides the point. So that happened. It was March 20th ish, and the same day that COVID became a pandemic. And I was walking out of the locker room, out of the stadium after pro day, feeling good, just feeling, like, yes, I'm so proud. I at least attempted to do this. I texted my mom. I remember I was like, thank you so much for telling me to do this. And again, because she just wanted me to play football. She loved her baby boy playing football. And so, you know, I was walking out of the stadium and we get a text, hey guys, grab your stuff. We don't know when we're going to be able to let you back in the facility. And so I did. I grabbed all my stuff, and I was thinking that I would have had a tryout with for sure the Packers, just because there is a solid relationship with the
Yep.
Badgers and the Packers. But that wasn't the case. And so, kind of fast forward a month or two after that, April, May, June, we're kind of trying to figure it out, right? Everything is crazy. The job market is trash. I didn't necessarily have the marketable skills that someone going into the workforce would have. Uh, it's weird on a job description. They don't say move bodies for a living, and that's kind of what I did. Uh, and so my mom was like, hey, whatever, to the NFL. Like, there's other opportunities out there. Maybe CFL. The XFL had been emerging, but then got shut down very quick. So we just Googled it. We Googled football leagues other than the NFL, and the IFL popped up. And there's several leagues. There's not just the IFL. There's the IFL, the CIF, where I have one of my buddies playing. I'm pretty sure he's playing the CIF up in Seattle. And so reached out to the coaches. Had one coach from Georgia reach out to me from a team out there, but was kind of like, well, this is COVID, right? Let's stay home. And it was in Green Bay. So I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be some connection with the Packers.
Yeah.
Um, wasn't the connection that I was hoping for, but yeah, got myself ready. And then shipped out for Green Bay. What was that? That was Easter of 2021, right? So I had a lot of time between January
Yeah.
1st and um, and Easter 2021 when I actually ended up in Green Bay. And so, yeah, that was kind of the transition. So,
Between the field size, the amount of players, a couple other differences with how wide receivers can start. Um, where do you think the biggest judgment, adjustment was that you had to make once you went to arena football?
Playing on that shitty field. It's so bad, and it's not just the Blizzard. I mean, they don't have the best fields in the IFL. And I think they took care of us as best as they could, though. I mean, it was nice in terms of, they had us in a long stay hotel. And again, it's not the NFL, right? You're not working with billions of dollars. But they did a good job at trying to get good quality players. Um, I will say, and I don't know if this makes me sound. I don't know how it makes me sound, but it was kind of a unique experience in terms of I was playing with guys who were playing at Alabama for one season and then something happened, and playing with guys coming out of Whitewater. So there was a whole breadth of players, a wide range. And it was pretty cool. Like, not getting as much playing time with Batches as I wanted to, but then immediately stepping into a solid role for the Blizzard, right? And um, Wisconsin got me ready, right? They definitely got me ready to play
Yeah.
big time ball. And I saw, and again, I wasn't like a star or anything, right? But I get there, I get a part time job, tear my hamstring, get COVID. There's a lot of roadblocks,
Yeah.
but I persevered and started for most of the season. Did a great job. Um, and I was playing good ball, and I finished on my own accord, and it was cool to see how prepared I was and how I conducted myself compared to some folks who, just didn't come from the caliber of football that I was playing at that time with the Badgers. So it was pretty unique.
So with the kind of with the shrunk down field and less linemen, did you feel it was easier to get to the quarterback?
Surprisingly, no. Like, yes and no, right? Because it's a smaller field. Um, but I'm telling you, man, that surface really sucks that you're playing on, and so you
Because
can't bend as much. The
even the
cleats
width
are
of the field,
different. Say it again.
even the width of the field is shrunken down, correct?
Everything is smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is smaller. The cleats that you're supposed to wear are. I mean, I don't know how they played it in the '90s, but if they played it like that, that's rough. And I think that was legit AstroTurf. That I think we were playing on. Maybe it was a little better, more evolved. But I remember getting there first day, and the field had been rolled up all year, so they're trying to like get the air
Yeah.
bubbles out of
Yeah.
it, get the creases out, and you're just thinking like, oh my god. And that's actually where I mean, I like first or second practice popped my hamstring, and I'm like, this is freaking brutal. Um, but again, that's no slight to the Blizzard. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So
Did you have a go to move between college and playing for the Blizzard? You got a go to move off the ball?
yeah, so the pulse slide. A lot of people call it a lot of different things, but I think my college coach, who coached Aaron Donald, he would always harp on the pulse slide because he looked at us and he's like, guys, you're not six. All of you are not 6'7". You're not running 5'4s" or 4'5s. I mean, five. We probably were running 5'4s. But you need a move to that works against the run and then quickly transitions to the pass. And so the pull slide was kind of my jam. We're not really taught necessarily to spin in college unless it's last ditch effort.
Yep.
And so for pass rush, yeah, it would be the pull slide, the long arm, the rip series, right? Chop dip rip forklift. Right. This is the same stuff I teach my kids. So
Yeah. You said that you when you finally stopped playing, it was on your own accord. Was that a easy decision for you, or was it a difficult one, or was it easier? I guess because then you got into coaching, or was there like a transition period of time where you're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing here?
oh yeah, no. Let me just put this down real quick. So this might be the universe speaking to me, but I had never gotten sick before a game.
Hmm.
Right? Really? I mean, was not. I didn't. I got nervous, but I didn't get so nervous that I was sick. And I remember we were up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where my buddy lives, my high school buddy Elijah Perrine, and he was coming to watch the game. And I kind of had this feeling. I was like, I think this might be my last game.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting like viciously sick, never throwing up, but just having this feeling in my gut. And then once the game got done, it went away.
Huh.
And I don't know. I don't know if that's the universe saying like you're done, right? I didn't cry on, high school or senior year with the Badgers. I don't even think I cried for when I was done playing professional, but I got sick and I remember that being like, okay, is this a sign? This might be a sign. And I remember telling my mom after the game, I'm like, I think I'm done. And she was like, oh, David, you're not done. This is what you do. And I get back to Madison in September of 2021 and talking to Brian Bott. And thank God for him because he saved me in my career, like twice, right? During COVID when all gyms were shut down and, it was just a crazy time, and I was able to once everything opened up a little bit, right, I was able to train with him, getting myself prepared for the blizzard. But then when I came back, right, having that stability of showing up to the gym for at least 3 months as I was exiting football was huge. And I remember talking to him one day and I said, Bot, I'm just not going to quit. Like, I want to quit, right? I know in my heart of hearts that I want to quit and I'm going to start doing it half ass and that's no way to do it. And we just had a man to man conversation. He said, you know what? You've had one hell of a career. You ended on your terms. I think it might be time then, and he said, a lot of the guys he talks to, football is you love the game and it's so fun because, especially when you play at that level, right? You're somewhat good at it. But for a lot of guys, it's like a way out of your environment, right? That's been a
Yeah.
theme. Like, making choices to get out of your environment. And so, I felt as if I had done that. And then I did officially retire, LOL. Uh, and yeah, I mean, still getting into the normal life, right? Normal work life, that was very challenging for me, even though I did take advantage of my schooling and, tried getting myself prepared. But again, I came out with not very hard skills in the job market, right? Not very marketable skills necessarily.
Yeah.
And so I got myself prepared from September 21 to July of 2022, and the foundation took a risk on a sprightly young man who was curious and who told his story, in a somewhat coherent way. Um, and that was
That's
kind of my transition to professional life.
and that's a perfect transition of where I'm going with this. So I did a deep dive on your Instagram and I wanted to touch on a couple things. First off, I'm jealous of you. You met Big Cat in Madison.
Oh my
How
gosh.
cool is that? And was that set up through the current position you're working in now with donors and alumni, or was that just like you ran into him? Like, how did that happen?
So that's a really good question. A person that has influenced my life, similar to Brian Bott, similar to Dan Ott, Jay Wanzerski, owner, founder of Wando's, and
Yep.
now next to it, Jay's. Uh, Wando has owned the bar Wando since '93, I think, and I had been working there my senior year summer, right before again my senior year, and then after, right. So that was kind of one of those jobs that just paid the bills, and so I've always been close with Wando, and he's kind of stayed in contact with Big Cat because obviously Big Cat had gone to Wisconsin and then did his thing and then ended up at Barstool and being a huge success. Um, so I got to meet him through Wando because they were in town for, I think it might have been a basketball game, and oh man, that was so cool. That was
Yeah.
so cool because he really is like he is. Big cat, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome. I assume in your position at UW, it takes quite a bit of, um, talking to people, maybe even some presenting. Does the gift of gab come easy to you? As I know you've been on, like I said, believe in the Badgers podcast a couple of times, even helped host it. So, does that skill come naturally to you, or was it like training a muscle where you just had so much repetition that you got good at it?
both. So my mom has always said I've had the gift of gab, and I didn't really know what the hell that meant. I was just like, okay, I can talk to a lot of people, but and I do have a high like a very large social battery, I think they say, and so I always tell people honestly, one of the reasons um, I kind of fell into this job and really love it is because I did have to hone my skills at talking with people at the bar at Wando's when I'm working, right?
Yeah.
De-escalating situations, making sure quote unquote VIP guests, right, are taken care of and making sure everything runs smoothly, right? A little bit of leadership, right? Um, and and so yeah, I've had to work at it. And I am no you know amazing communicator, but I try to be. I mean, that's something I pride myself on, and so it's the best job in the world. I get to travel the country, meet with the coolest people in the world from so many different industries. And although I'm not a business badger myself, my girlfriend is, right, because she's a smart one. Um, I have this deep, deep, deep appreciation for our mission and what we do at the school business. And if I can, influence it or help raise a major gift, to support that mission, well, then that's what I'm going to work towards doing, So it's a pretty cool deal.
You talked a little bit about it. You're going into year 4 of coaching at Sun Prairie. Was coaching always something that you knew you wanted to get into after you were done playing yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I was actually a little hesitant on getting into it at first because, I just didn't know. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I possess that, coaching
Yeah.
thing that people do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quickly realized with the help of Brian Bott and our coach, Brian Kaminsky, yeah, I do have that thing, right? You have to find your coaching voice, and that takes, I still am finding it, right? Growth mindset, right? We're always trying to get better. But, anything you can provide, I tell one of our newer coaches, Josh Dinga, he helps me with the D line, him and then Brian Waz, who's been coaching for years. I always say you got to find your coaching voice, but anything you can help provide to the kids, right, on this technique or this technique, you don't need to be necessarily an expert in the whole thing. But if you can just break it down and try and communicate what's in your head and what best practices to be, that will go so long, right? So far with these kids who are so impressionable, and they just want to get better. It's a blast.
Is there something you preach to your kids that it takes to make it to the next level if they are, if they're wanting to pursue that?
I feel like there's so many things that I preach, but consistently, I would like to say that you can't waste your time. You really cannot. You can't come to me senior and say I want to play college football. You need to start at as early as you possibly can, because there's so much that goes into it, right? You're just getting your body prepared, getting mentally prepared, right? Having maturity, acting like you've been there before, gaining stats. Like that's a real hard thing, It's
Yeah.
just like playing a lot of games and trying to rack up those numbers is a big deal. Um, and learning the game, it's rather simple, but it's really not when you break it down. So um, yeah, I preach to the kids all the time. Do not waste your own time.
You talked about your mom's really smart advice when you were getting offers. Have you had the opportunity to pass that along to your high school kids now? And I guess have any of them asked you um, for help in that decision making process?
Yeah. I guess I haven't been directly involved with the recruiting process too much. I'm thinking of two guys right now that I was a little bit. But I tell the guys all the time, like, do not, if a coach asks me to vouch for you guys, make it easy for me to vouch for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put my reputation on the line because, you might look good, but your off the field behavior is a mess. Right.
Yeah.
So, um, I've definitely, opened the door for guys to talk to me. Admittedly, we've had guys recruited. Don't get me wrong. I've had a lot of guys recruited. I mean, it's like some Prairie University up in Eau Claire right now with guys playing track, football,
Yep.
baseball. Um, but in terms of, one-on-one coaching with that type of stuff, a little bit here and there. And it really takes, it's about, ownership. Like they have to own their process. I can only do so much. We can only do so much as a coaching staff. And now with all the changes in high school football and NFL or college football, it's you got to just be very very serious about it, which is hard when you're 15 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You also do trench training through Sports Advantage. Um, do you want to just talk a little bit about that, like dates, what it all entails?
Yeah, so trench training is something I've been doing for 3 years with Steve Stark and Joel Nellis, and it they kind of approached me 3 years ago at a Badger spring practice, and they told me this concept that had already been going on for like 10 years, right? Trench training has been going on for a while now, a lot in the Milwaukee, Oconomowoc area, but essentially what it is, how I tell people, or what I tell people it is, it's indie time, so individual time,
Okay.
working on drills for linemen, and
Yep.
so just like school, you have the summer slide. Well, with football, you have the winter slide and the off
Yep.
season slide. If you're not doing other sports, which you should be doing, but if you're not doing winter sports, or even if you are, it's a great way to stay sharp. We work on footwork, punch mechanics, explosion, really nothing different than pretty much everyone in the state is teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some changes, but a lot of it's tried and true. It would be hard to pitch a program to a coach and saying, "Hey, we're preaching this thing that this is the way you do it, and your way doesn't work." No, we are so open to coming to your school and trying to implement your system, sharing some experiences that we've had, and just working on the fundamentals of being a phenomenal lineman. We have the pleasure of working and partnering with Joe Thomas, who is a legend,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and so kind of taking what all the amazing information that he has in his head and translating it to the boys. It's quite remarkable. So
You do since okay, so since you're a Sun Prairie coach, and then you also help with trench training. I think it was in Middleton. Do you ever see
yep,
any kids come through that will be your competition in the fall?
yeah, all the time, and it's a blast. I know Wanakee players have showed up, Middleton players, Verona. I had two really amazing guys from Sauk Prairie. Um, so yeah. But as a coach, right, you just want to see everyone succeed, right?
Yeah,
And just have belief that your players are going to beat their players, when fall comes around. But yeah, I definitely get to see a wide variety of guys from different high schools, and some of them start, at that they're not very good, and then
right.
through their programs, right, and then through our programs, they progress, and they get
Yeah.
they get a lot better. So it's very fulfilling.
So on top of all of this stuff, you help with your girlfriend's embroidery business as
Yeah,
well, called Zozo Company.
that's it. Yep.
Uh, so how did the idea of that come about? And is it more so you're just there for support, or?
Yeah, no, I So we're very entrepreneurial, right?
Yeah.
We're both in corporate America essentially, and so she's a business analyst for the American Family Life Insurance Company, and so she loves her job. But as you can imagine, right, there's only so much creative outlet that you can express in that type of work. So she was trying to come up with Christmas gifts. I think that would have been 2 years ago now, for her family with hats. And so she was like, "Oh, this is kind of expensive and not very. It's clunky. It's a clunky system,
Yeah.
right? And you have to buy in bulk if you want to do something like this." And so she just told me one day, she's like, "Hey, I'm starting a small business." And I go, "Okay, babe, like, that's great. Like, I support you. That's, and she's a little bit, I don't even want to call her reserved because this has completely gotten her to be not reserved and to start selling. And I'm so proud of her and everything that she's accomplished with this business. But yeah, from humble beginnings, we started with a custom patch hat bar. It's kind of a
Yep.
concept that's been around for a couple of years, and then we invested into an embroiderer. And so now we do embroidered goods, small business logos, pretty much everything, um, and
And
it's a blast.
do you guys have a physical location or is that all online?
Yeah, it's all online. That's kind of the beauty of Shopify.
Yep.
We are at several craft fairs around Madison, around Milwaukee. Um, we were at the State Street Night Market last week. We were at the
Okay.
Milwaukee Night Market last week. Um, we do a little bit of everything. So
Yeah, I was looking at some of the designs. The USA design with the cherries is a sweet
yeah,
design.
yeah,
So the aside from the custom work that you guys get, who does those designs? Is it you or her?
it's all her.
All her.
It's all her. Yeah, I just the unpaid intern that moves things and sells, and it's perfect because, right, like I'm front of the house.
Yeah,
I can bring people in. I can talk to
play
them,
to your
and
strengths.
Zoe can
Yeah.
do that now too. Like she is, she is being an entrepreneur, owning an LLC. You have to be able to do everything from the accounting to the sales to the closing, and but it's really nice, right? She can make and I can sell, and it's that perfect teamwork that really makes it happen. So
I think you're touching on. So obviously you have a lot of varying jobs where you wear a lot of different hats, pun intended. Are there any aspects of them that overlap in terms of skills required to do them successfully?
this is such a communication. You have to be able to communicate what's in your brain, and that's not always the easiest for me because I got a lot going on up here. But you need to communicate that, and you need to flip the switch. Right, coaching a high schooler is different than talking to a donor than it is talking to a prospective customer, but you still need to be clear and concise in what you're trying to convey. So,
Yeah. And I think the other thing, your work ethic, I think, speaks for itself, even in just the short amount of time that we've been talking here with everything that you do. Do you think that's something that sports provided you over the years, or was it ingrained in you by your parents growing up? Or maybe a little
a
bit of
little bit,
both. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of both. I would also say that I'm really passionate in what I do, so that kind of makes it easy. Um, I would say that's passion, work ethic, are kind of my two. You know, that's what David Pfaff is. Or that's what I strive to be. Let's say that. That's what I strive to be because some days it's a little bit of a struggle, but you have to love what you do, no matter what it is. You have to try and be the best and take people along with you on the weird journey that is life. And you have to communicate very well. It's going to
I
be really hard for you.
I always end the show with two questions.
Oh, okay.
If your future kids somehow stumble across this interview one day, when they're 18, what is one piece of advice you hope they take away from it?
Oh man.
I know, putting you on the
Um,
spot.
yeah, no, that's great. That's a really good question. It's a really good question. Um, I try to what I want them to know about me is I I just want to have a really fun and exciting life that I can talk about. I want to have people in my corner. I want to support people, and I want them as my kids to just blaze their own trail and try to be the best they can in whatever they want to do. So,
Well put. Lastly, it wouldn't be called the Dadger without a prediction on how the Badgers are gonna do this year.
okay. All right, let's look at the schedule here. Miami of Ohio, Middle Tennessee, Alabama, Maryland, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota.
It's a gauntlet.
It's a gauntlet. I got to go down line by line here. So they're going to win Miami.
Yep.
They're going to win Middle Tennessee. They're going to lose Alabama. They're going to win Maryland. They're going to win Michigan. They're going to win Iowa. They're going to lose to Ohio State. They're going to lose Oregon. They're going to win Washington. I don't know about Indiana. I'm just going to say they're going to win Indiana. It's going to be a really hard fought battle against Illinois, but they're going to squeak out the win. And I'm being so generous here, and they're going to win against Minnesota and get the axe. So, yeah, we're looking comfortable 8-win, whatever. But realistically, we don't know. And that's going to be, we're traditionally always better if we were the underdogs.
Yep.
And I got faith in those boys that we're going to rise to the occasion. And we're going to see if Coach Fick can make it happen, and hopefully Chris Mack doesn't have he hasn't kept up at night this fall. Hopefully he sleeps like a baby and doesn't have to do anything that's crazy. So or just keep him up at night.
So for all the people that are watching on YouTube, I will post the links to everything that we talked about in the description. So go check out everything that we talked about here. Huge thanks to David for sharing his journey from the trenches at Camp Randall to the front line of coaching and running a business. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment letting us know who you'd like to see join us next on the Dadger. Thanks again, David.
Thanks.